Let me make something abundantly clear right now. You are not here by accident. You are created with purpose, designed with intention, and placed on this earth to dominate, not to shrink, not to settle, not to survive, but to thrive. There is a seed of greatness inside of you, but nobody else can water it. That's your job. And it starts with one simple decision. Focus on you until you win. You are not born just to exist, pay bills, and die. You are crafted intentionally and intricately with a purpose so profound that the world cannot fully contain the potential within you. From the moment breath entered your lungs, the divine blueprint of your destiny was already written. You are not a mistake. You are not the result of chance. You are the evidence of purpose, strategically placed in this moment, in this generation, with something the world desperately needs. There is a unique assignment on your life that no one else can fulfill. It doesn't matter where you started or what you've been through. Your beginning does not disqualify your becoming. Too often people allow circumstances to rewrite what God already spoke over them. They allow pain to bury their purpose. But your trials are not there to break you. They are designed to shape the version of you who is equipped to walk in power, in clarity, and in full alignment with the reason you were created. Purpose is not passive. It doesn't sit quietly in the background waiting for convenience. It demands your attention, your energy, and your obedience. When you wake up each day and refuse to pursue what was placed in your heart, you are not just delaying your destiny, you are depriving the world of the very gift you were sent to release. Your purpose isn't just about you, it's about the lives connected to your obedience, the chains that will be broken through your courage, and the impact that will ripple across generations because you chose to show up fully. And purpose isn't always loud. Sometimes it whispers in the moments when you feel the most broken, reminding you that there's more to your story. Sometimes it shows up in your frustration, revealing the areas in life you're called to change. Sometimes it stirs up a righteous discomfort, not to punish you, but to push you. You weren't created to stay stuck in comfort zones. Growth demands movement, and purpose will always challenge you to rise beyond where you are right now. You will never find fulfillment running from the reason you were created. You can chase money, status, titles, or recognition, but if it's not tied to your calling, you'll still feel empty. Purpose brings peace. Purpose brings passion. It activates something inside of you that makes you wake up with energy, go to sleep with intention, and live your life with the awareness that your time matters. When you understand that your purpose is non-negotiable, distractions lose their power and clarity becomes your compass. The world will try to label you. People will try to box you in, but no one else has the authority to define what God has already established. You don't need their approval when you've already been assigned. You don't need to blend in when you were born to stand out. The very thing that makes you different is often the thing that makes you powerful. And that power is not given to be hidden. It is given to be stewarded with boldness, with excellence, and with faith. Many people struggle not because they lack talent, but because they're misaligned. They're trying to fit into spaces that were never designed for them. They're saying yes to things that drain them because they haven't yet said yes to the thing that feeds them. Your purpose will never compete with your peace. It might challenge you, it might stretch you, but it will never rob you of the essence of who you are. When you walk in purpose, you walk in truth, you walk in light, you walk in power. Purpose is persistent. It won't let you sleep when you try to ignore it. It'll tap you on the shoulder when you're doing things that look successful but feel empty. It'll disrupt your comfort in order to usher in your calling. And the longer you run from it, the louder it becomes. You can't mute what you were made for. The ache in your soul to be more, do more, and impact more, it's not random. It's your assignment calling you back into alignment. No matter how far off course you feel, it's never too late to return to what you were created for. Purpose is not about perfection, it's about direction. And as long as you're breathing, you still have time to get in position. You still have time to learn. You still have time to grow. You still have time to evolve into the highest, most obedient, most focused version of yourself. The version of you that doesn't apologize for being chosen. The version of you that understands that purpose is the only path to true legacy. You don't need to have all the answers to begin. You just need to be willing to go deeper, willing to ask the hard questions, willing to confront the fear and the excuses. Because once you lock into the truth that your life has a divine assignment attached to it, every move you make becomes intentional, every step becomes sacred, and the pursuit of your purpose becomes your top priority. Distraction doesn't always come in the form of obvious chaos. Sometimes it wears the disguise of productivity. It looks like busyness. It sounds like I'll get to it later. It feels like scrolling, binge watching, pleasing people, answering every call, checking every notification, until you look up and realize a whole year passed and you're still not walking in the thing you were born to do. Distraction is subtle, deceptive, and dangerous because it doesn't always feel wrong, but it keeps you from what's right. The most dangerous thing about distraction is that it doesn't destroy purpose, it delays it. And delay after delay eventually leads to disconnection. You wake up one day disconnected from your vision, your goals, your God-given calling, all because you allowed the noise of the world to drown out the whisper of destiny. The more distracted you become, the harder it is to hear your own voice, trust your own instinct, and obey your own conviction. You were never created to chase everything. You were created to focus. Focus is power. Distraction is leakage. Every time you give your attention to something that doesn't serve your vision, you're leaking energy, leaking time, leaking purpose. And the truth is, purpose requires protection. You can't entertain every opportunity, engage every opinion, or respond to every invitation and still expect to arrive at your destination on time. Distraction is the silent thief of dreams. It doesn't snatch them violently. It quietly convinces you that tomorrow is always available. Some people miss their moment not because they weren't qualified, but because they weren't focused. Their potential was there, but their attention was divided. Purpose doesn't compete for your loyalty, it requires it. You can't give 10% to your calling and expect 100% breakthrough. The level of destiny you're asking for demands a level of discipline you're not used to yet. That means tuning out the noise. That means cutting off the chaos. That means managing your mind before you manage your calendar. Distraction is often the cousin of fear. When you're afraid to fail, you distract yourself with lesser tasks so you never have to confront the weight of your true calling. You keep yourself occupied so you don't have to be honest about how much you procrastinated. But avoidance doesn't erase responsibility. Just because you're not looking at your assignment doesn't mean the assignment disappeared. It's still there waiting for you to turn down the volume of the world and turn up the volume of your faith. The enemy of your soul isn't always trying to destroy you. Sometimes he just wants to keep you busy. Busy doing things that look good but lead nowhere. Busy chasing things that validate your ego but starve your purpose. Busy building someone else's vision while yours sits in the shadows, neglected. And every time you say yes to distraction, you are unintentionally saying no to destiny. Destiny demands clarity, and clarity only comes through intentional focus. So you don't need more hours in the day, you need better boundaries. Boundaries with people, boundaries with platforms, boundaries with your own impulses. Everything that calls your name doesn't deserve your time. Every door that opens isn't a door you're called to walk through. Maturity is learning to discern what looks like opportunity but smells like distraction. Not everything that glitters is gold. Some of it is sand that slips right through your fingers while you're trying to hold it. Distraction also thrives in environments without vision. When you're not clear on where you're going, you'll go anywhere. You'll try anything. You'll say yes to everything because you don't know what you're protecting. Vision gives your no power. When you know what you're building, what you're creating, and who you're becoming, you become intentional with your yes and unapologetic with your no. Without that clarity, every good thing becomes a trap that keeps you from the great thing. Sometimes distraction comes dressed as obligation. People will pull on your time, your energy, your heart, asking you to show up in places that aren't aligned with your assignment. You must remember, Being available to everyone often means being unavailable to yourself. You are not responsible for carrying everyone's load. You are responsible for carrying out your calling. And that means sometimes you have to let go of what's familiar to grab hold of what's foundational. The cost of distraction is too high. It robs you of time you can't get back, opportunities you can't recover, and moments you were meant to own. And the hardest part, it all happens quietly, slowly, over time, until you realize you're miles off course and your soul is starving for the focus you abandoned. Distraction doesn't ask for permission. It just creeps in and convinces you that the urgent is more important than the essential. But the essential, the thing you were born to do, is still waiting. Greatness is not something someone grants you. It's something you grow into. Too many people are sitting on dreams, waiting for someone to give them the green light. They're waiting for approval, applause, or an open door they think someone else has the key to. But the truth is, the only permission you need is the permission you give yourself. You don't have to wait for a mentor, a platform, or a title to start moving in the direction of your calling. The moment you decide to take yourself seriously is the moment greatness begins to take root. There's something dangerous about living your life based on the opinions of others. When you look to people for permission, you give them control over your progress. You allow them to dictate your pace, your confidence, and your sense of worth. But the people you're waiting on to validate your voice might not even understand your vision. They weren't in the room when God gave you that idea. They didn't see the late nights, the inner battles, the hunger you have to become everything you know you're called to be. You can't expect people to co-sign what they were never meant to carry. When you believe you need permission, you start to play small. You lower your standards. You wait for the right moment, the perfect timing, or for someone to say you're ready. But greatness doesn't ask if you're ready. It demands that you rise. It demands that you show up scared, that you speak even when your voice shakes, that you build even when the blueprint isn't fully visible. You don't get to lead from a place of comfort. Leaders lead from conviction. And conviction doesn't wait for consensus. One of the biggest myths people believe is that someone has to choose them in order for their gift to matter. But you were already chosen before you were born, before you had credentials, before you had confidence. There was greatness deposited inside you that didn't come from a classroom, a boss, or a platform. It came from above. And the moment you embrace that, you'll stop asking for a seat at the table and start realizing you are the table. Your presence carries weight. Your voice carries value. Your gift makes room for you, but only if you use it. When you walk into a room with ownership of who you are, people can feel it. Confidence isn't arrogance. Confidence is awareness of what you carry. It's not about thinking you're better than others. It's about knowing you're finally done shrinking to fit into places that were never meant to contain your power. You weren't made to blend in. You were made to stand out, to shift atmospheres, to break generational limits, and to activate others through your boldness. The need for permission often comes from past rejection. Somewhere along the line, someone made you feel like you weren't enough, that your voice was too loud, that your dreams were unrealistic, that your ambition was too much, so you started second guessing yourself. But that was their limitation, not yours. Just because they couldn't see your vision doesn't mean it wasn't real. Just because they didn't believe in you doesn't mean you're not worthy of belief. You have to stop making their disbelief your identity. When you start owning your greatness, you will make people uncomfortable. You'll ruffle feathers. You'll challenge the status quo. And that's okay. Your greatness isn't supposed to make everyone comfortable. It's supposed to shift things, to provoke growth, to inspire change, to call people higher. But if you keep asking for permission, you'll spend your life editing yourself to fit into someone else's expectations. And every time you edit yourself, you erase a little more of your authenticity. It's not prideful to walk in your power. It's responsible. There are people assigned to your voice, your gift, your influence, and they are waiting on you, not a smaller, quieter, safer version of you, but the real you. The version that doesn't apologize for being called, the version that's tired of playing it safe, the version that's ready to step up, speak out, and make impact. You don't need a spotlight to be effective. You just need to show up fully in the places where you already are. Waiting for permission is a delay tactic dressed up as humility. It sounds noble to say, I'm just waiting for the right time, but often it's fear disguised as patience. At some point, you have to realize that the right time is whenever you decide to stop hiding, when you stop negotiating with your potential, when you stop giving other people the pen to write your story. This is your life, your dream, your responsibility, and only you can decide to activate what's already inside you. Every level of greatness you're praying for is already available, but it's waiting on your yes. Not their yes, not the world's yes, yours. Because the moment you realize you don't need permission to be great is the moment you stop waiting and start becoming. You stop surviving and start building. You stop rehearsing your past and start walking boldly into your future. And the only thing standing between where you are and where you're called to be is your decision to move without waiting to be told you can. Discipline is not a trait you're born with. It's a choice you make daily. It's the invisible force behind every breakthrough, every achievement, and every legacy. You don't become who you're called to be by accident. It takes intentional, repeated action. Discipline is doing what needs to be done even when you don't feel like doing it. It's the quiet work in the dark that produces the shine in the light. It's waking up early, staying up late, saying no to distractions and yes to consistency. It's not sexy, it's not glamorous, but it's always effective. People admire the results, but they rarely respect the routine. They see the finished product, but they don't see the pain, the persistence, and the daily decisions that created it. You can't pray for success and then live a lifestyle that contradicts it. There's a difference between wanting something and being willing to do what it takes to get it. Discipline separates dreamers from doers. It turns vision into execution. It turns potential into power. Everyone has potential, but only the disciplined ever truly walk in purpose. Your destiny is not a matter of luck, it's a matter of order. If your life is out of order, your future will be too. Discipline brings order to your time, your habits, your thinking, and your energy. It's the system that supports your success. Without discipline, you become reactive. You chase feelings, you move on impulse. But with discipline, you become proactive. You take authority over your day. You don't wait for motivation, you move with commitment. And that commitment compounds over time into something undeniable. The people who win consistently aren't necessarily the most talented, they're the most consistent. Talent can open a door, but discipline is what keeps you in the room. Talent may get you noticed, but discipline gets you results. Every time you show up when it's hard, when it's inconvenient, when it's thankless, you're building a reputation with yourself. You're proving to your own soul that you are who you say you are. And that self-trust becomes the foundation of unstoppable confidence. There's a cost to discipline, but there's a far greater cost to regret. Regret comes when you realize you had the time, the opportunity, the talent, but you didn't have the discipline to do what was required. Discipline feels hard in the moment, but regret is heavy for a lifetime. The pain of growth is temporary, but the pain of missed destiny lingers. If you want to live with peace, live with principle. If you want to die empty, having given the world everything you were supposed to, live with discipline every single day. Your future is being formed by your habits. Your destiny is shaped in the small decisions: what you eat, what you watch, who you talk to, how you spend your time, what you listen to. Discipline teaches you to say no to what's convenient so you can say yes to what's critical. It helps you discern the difference between noise and necessity, between movement and progress. You can be busy and still be stagnant. You can be active and still be unproductive. Discipline isn't about doing more, it's about doing what matters most. Discipline is about alignment. When your actions align with your purpose, you create momentum. But when your actions contradict your purpose, you create frustration. A lack of discipline leads to internal conflict. You know you're meant for more, but your lifestyle is keeping you stuck. That gap between your potential and your choices becomes torment. The way out isn't more dreaming, It's more doing. It's waking up and deciding to stop betraying your calling with lazy patterns and inconsistent behavior. There's a version of you waiting on the other side of discipline, a version sharper, stronger, more focused, and more fruitful. But you can't meet that version by living like the one who's stuck in excuses. Every time you delay the work, you delay your transformation. Discipline is how you build the bridge between who you are and who you were created to become. It's not a punishment, it's a path. It's not restriction, it's structure. The structure that allows your gift to flourish without chaos. Discipline builds credibility, not just with others, but with yourself. Every time you follow through on what you said you'd do, you reinforce your integrity, you reinforce your standard, you raise your bar. And when you do that consistently, you walk differently. You carry yourself with quiet authority because you know you didn't shortcut your way there. You earned it. You bled for it. You worked when no one was watching. And that kind of integrity can't be faked or bought. It's built. There will be days when you don't feel like showing up. Days when the weight of life, the noise of the world, and the pressure of purpose feels overwhelming. But those are the days that matter the most. Discipline doesn't disappear in difficulty. It's forged by it. It's in those moments when everything in you wants to quit that your destiny is being decided. Not by emotion, but by execution. Not by how loud you shout, but by how consistently you act. Destiny is waiting, but discipline is the only way to reach it. The dark seasons of life are often misunderstood. We fight them, resist them, pray to be pulled out of them, never realizing that some of the most transformative moments we'll ever experience are forged in the places nobody sees. The dark doesn't mean you're being buried. It means you're being planted. And before anything great ever grows, it has to go through the dark first. Breakthrough doesn't happen on the stage. It doesn't happen in the spotlight. It happens in silence, in struggle, in solitude, when no one is watching, and everything in you wants to give up. The dark is where you confront your real self. It's where the masks come off, where the applause dies down, and where your true motives are tested. In the dark, there are no shortcuts, no crowd to impress, no filters to hide behind, just you, your assignment, and the God who gave it to you. That's where faith is formed. That's where character is chiseled. That's where you learn to stop performing and start transforming. Because if you can't handle the dark, you won't be able to handle the light. We celebrate mountaintop moments, but the mountain is only climbed through the dark pressure of the valley. The dark teaches you how to endure. It teaches you how to build when no one's clapping, how to believe when there's no visible evidence, how to push through when all you see is resistance. Breakthrough requires resistance. You don't grow strong from easy. You grow strong from opposition. And the dark is the training ground where spiritual muscle is formed and where emotional endurance is built. People want results but don't want the darkroom, the process, the delay, the discomfort. But think about this. A photograph is developed in the darkroom. If you pull it out too early, the image is ruined. Your breakthrough has a process, a development cycle, and if you try to force your way into the light before you're ready, you'll sabotage the very thing you were praying for. You're not being punished, you're being prepared, and preparation always happens before promotion. The dark is also where your roots grow. Nobody sees roots, nobody applauds roots, but without them, the tree can't stand. Everyone wants to bear fruit, but fruit without roots is fragile. The dark makes you deep. It anchors you in discipline. It connects you to your source. And when the storm comes, and it always comes, it's your roots that keep you standing. Breakthrough isn't about a one-time event. It's about becoming someone who can sustain the blessing, and that sustainability starts underground. There are things you can only hear in the dark. The noise of the world fades. The distractions are stripped. And in the stillness, you hear what really matters. You hear vision, you hear conviction, you hear the next step. God often whispers in the dark because he wants you to listen. He wants to build intimacy with you, not just visibility for you. The dark is where the blueprint is revealed, where the instructions come, where your faith becomes sight. Not because everything is clear, but because your trust becomes unshakable. You'll know you're in a breakthrough season when everything feels heavy, when you're stretched, tested, and pressed, when what used to work doesn't work anymore. That's the sign that you're not who you used to be, but you're not yet who you're about to become. The in-between is uncomfortable, but it's necessary. It's the cocoon phase, the place where identity is stripped and destiny is shaped. You can't fly if you're not willing to die to who you were. And that death to self always happens in the dark. The dark also forces you to redefine what success looks like. In public, success is about performance. In private, success is about obedience. Did you stay faithful when it wasn't fun? Did you show up when no one noticed? Did you keep building when nothing looked like it was working? That kind of obedience creates inner strength. And inner strength leads to external breakthrough. But if you're obsessed with outer results, you'll miss the deeper work that produces lasting transformation. Some of your most anointed moments will come from your darkest battles. The pain you survived, the tears you cried, the nights you almost quit, those are the things that make your voice carry weight. You don't get power without pressure. You don't get wisdom without wounds. And you don't get breakthrough without first breaking down. But the breaking isn't the end, it's the beginning. It's the opening. It's the cracking of the old shell so the real you can emerge. And that emergence always begins in the dark. You'll come to realize that the dark wasn't your enemy. It was your ally. It didn't come to destroy you. It came to define you. It stripped away the shallow, the surface, and the safe. It forced you to dig deeper, to trust harder, to stretch further. And in that space where everything seemed hidden, heaven was working. Destiny was unfolding. Identity was forming. And the version of you that's ready for the light was being birthed, not in the applause, but in the silence, the struggle, and the sacred solitude of the dark. Nothing changes in your life until you open your mouth and declare what will be. A declaration is not a wish, it's a decision spoken out loud. It's a statement of faith, of intent, and of authority. When you declare something, you disrupt the atmosphere around you. You shift from passive living to powerful living. You stop reacting to life and start commanding it. Too many people are silent about what they want and then frustrated when they don't get it. But silence is agreement with your current situation. When you speak, you signal to your mind, your spirit, and your environment that a shift is in motion. Declarations aren't about hype, they're about alignment. You have to align your mouth with your mission. Speak what you see by faith, not just what you see with your eyes. Your words create your world. Life and death are in the power of the tongue. And every time you declare your purpose, your breakthrough, your identity, you're building the future with your voice. You're prophesying your way into your promise. You're reminding your fear who you are. You're silencing doubt with decision. And that declaration, when spoken consistently and boldly, starts to rewrite the programming of your mindset. But declaration is only the first step. You must decide. Decision is the bridge between intention and transformation. A real decision shuts the door on the alternative. It says, I don't care how long it takes, I'm committed. Most people don't get stuck because they don't have a vision. They get stuck because they haven't made a real decision. They're still entertaining plan B. They're still negotiating with fear. But power doesn't flow where there's indecision.